Hi everyone, welcome back. Today I'm going to be creating a bridal makeup look. This is the makeup look I did on my best friend's wedding day and it turned out incredible. We did a lot of trials and we ended up on these products and this specific makeup look. So I'm really excited to share with you. So let's get into it. I wish I had a really good beauty shot of her face. I know the photographers do, but that's going to take some time to get some of those pictures back. But the few that I do have from the day are just so beautiful. It was one of the most beautiful days of my life and weeks of my life. I'm already mourning the trip. So I'm first going to start off with a good amount of the Charlotte Tilbury Magic Cream, and I'm going to let this rest on my skin for a while because I'm actually going to be starting with the eyes. When I did makeup more consistently on clients, I would always do the eyes first because that is such a big focal point of the wedding day, of course. And if they ended up hating the eyes, it was so much easier to remove that instead of messing up the whole base. That's my biggest tip. So I'm first going to prime my lids with the Fenty Beauty eye primer. We tried so many different eye primers and this one came on top once again. I'm now taking a fluffy brush. This is a Smith 237 and I'm going to take my setting powder. Today is going to be the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Flawless and I'm using the shade 1 Fair. And I'm going to set that primer brow to crease just to add a nice slip layer. Now this specific wedding makeup is more tailored for like a summer wedding. Let me know if you really like this video. I can create one for every season. So since I'm doing kind of a more summery makeup, it's going to be a lot more bronzy and warm. So the eyeshadow palette that worked the best tonally for her was the Patrick Ta Major Dimensions 3. And we mostly used the top row and just a little bit of these two right here. So a good trick that I used to do all the time on clients is taking a flat brush like this and taking a light eyeshadow, and I'm going to lightly find the angle of the liner we're going to be creating. This is to help the client visualize, for you to visualize, and to get it most even on either side instead of using tape, because sometimes tape can create a super harsh line that not necessarily everyone loves, or it can also kind of wrinkle up the skin oddly under the eye. So this just helps to eliminate all of that. I always follow the natural line of the under eye line here. I'm going to go straight out from the outermost point of my eye to create a nice line like that. And then you can like kind of visualize it yourself. If you look straight, you can see if they're even. I don't think mine are really right now, but you can kind of mess with it until you find the right one, the right angle. But that's just a trick I always did when I worked on clients. So the first step to this eye look is, of course, a transition shade. I'm going to be using this shade first right here. And I'm going to use this Refer 16 brush to do this. And I'm touching down right here first, high up into my crease, almost near my brow. And this is going to add a lot of nice height to the eye. So I like to add the most pigment right here, and then I'll start flicking it outwards for that more lifting effect. And I'm going to do the exact same thing with the shade right next to it, going slightly below what we just did though. Now using a small liner brush, this is a Jones Road, the Precision Eyeliner brush, I'm going to be taking the cream brown from the palette. And not a lot of it, just a touch to create the base of the liner. I'm just going to gauge how much I've got here on the back of my hand. I don't need too much. This stretches quite a bit, as you can see. But I'm just going to be creating kind of that cream base to really smudge things out. And I'm not going to take this too far either. This is just going to have like a little bit of a whisper of a wing. And I'm going to keep it quite skinny as well. Now I'll be using this Refer 23 brush a lot. It's a perfect little detail one. It's so nice and tiny. I'm going to now take this shade right here and I'm going to go over that entire thing and I'm going to blow it out just a little bit. Now using the shade right next to it, the slightly deeper one, I'm going to do the exact same thing. And you can see I'm blowing it out so it's nice and soft and smoky and not super defined. And then I'll be taking the deepest powder shade from the top row and focus that right, basically right where we applied that cream one. I'm not going to smoke this one too much. Now using the deep neutral brown, doing the exact same thing, just using it a little bit more tighter right on the lash line. Not done with that quite yet, but it's time to add some shimmer before we get into all the details. And we trialed so many shimmers and we actually landed on this, which is actually a highlight. It's the Rare Beauty Highlight and Exhilarate. So I took this with my finger and this goes right in the center of the eye first for the most impact. And then to diffuse it, I used a brush, and this is a Smith 247, so kind of a pinched flat brush. And then I just pressed it into that eye primer. She didn't really want any glitter in her eye look. She wanted more of a satin look, which I thought was really, really pretty and kind of suited the vibe of the wedding. But we wanted it to have even more drama, and this is like the perfect thing ever. I love this. It's so bridal coated. It's the M Cosmetics Dewy Eyeshadow in the shade Luna. And this stuff is insanely intense, so touch goes a long way. I just applied this in the center of the eye, first like basically touching the eyelashes and then slowly dragging that up, just for that insane highlight that I think is so pretty. Now we can focus with the details. I'll now be using the black eyeshadow and that deep neutral brown. Taking that neutral shade, I'm going to kind of use it as an eyeliner. And then I'll do the same with the black, just for the extra drama. And this black eyeshadow from this palette is so intense, so just be very careful because it can take over very quickly. Now I'm going to apply a touch of concealer underneath of the eye, just so that we have something for the shadows to grab onto. And the concealer we used was the NYX Bear With Me Serum Concealer. And at this point you can kind of erase that light shadow line we created. Just a touch. You're not going to use like full-on concealer just quite yet because you'll most likely want to wipe this area off because of all the glitter and shimmer that falls down. But for this part, I just wanted to have like a really light, soft lower lash line, nothing too much. So I went in with the initial transition shade that we used up here with a little bit of the neighboring shadow. And this will go all across the lower lash line without connecting it too much yet. Oh my gosh, I'm giving like hunchback right now. I'm like so shrimp posture. Okay, I forgot one step, my bad, but it's a good time to catch it. I'm using this nude colored liner from Makeup Forever. It's the Artist Color Pencil in Boundless Bisque. And this is going to go right in the waterline. I love using a nude pencil, specifically this one because it's not so intense. It doesn't add like a really thick, crumbly layer. It just naturally brightens up your waterline. Like it looks like that's just your normal waterline once the whole look comes together. It's awesome. But anyways, yes, with that mixture of those transition shades, just really nicely blend those together. Nothing too dramatic, but enough to like really open the eye. Then with a really small brush, I'm taking that deep neutral brown mixed with the top darkest powder shadow. And this is the shadow that's going to connect the liner to the lower lash line. It's going to look a little bit like too much of a straight line, but once the mascara is on and it kind of like blurs that line, it looks really, really good. You just don't want to blow this out too much or else it can look really, really smoky. So to avoid blending too much, I kind of like press into the lashes instead. I'm going to highlight using the matte shades now. I'm taking this gorgeous creamy shade first on the brow bone, as well as in the inner corner. And I'm also going to like blend it upwards, just to contradict any darkness in there. And I'm also going to use a little bit of the white. We didn't like how the shimmer inner corner looked. It looked like it made the eyes too close together or something. We really wanted just the shimmer on the lid, and it looked really, really gorgeous. And using highlight last kind of helps to like mask any overblend you may have on your crease or anything, just like that. You can take another look if you want to like deepen anything up, correct anything. I usually do that once the base is on, just to see if there's anything that I want to like amp up a bit. Now I'm going to curl my lashes and then add a good coat of mascara. I'm using my Clio Kill Lash. Also, so grateful to have made it out of my botched lash lift. I have lashes again. I think Mexico really, really helped grow my lashes for some reason too. They like sprouted while I was there. I think between the lash serum I used, castor oil, the humidity, and everything good that is in that climate really helped to bring back my lashes like crazy. And I like to put a second coat right on the outer corner right here, just for extra drama. And the lashes we ended up using for her look were these ones right here. They're also pre-glued. We use so many different versions, like really beautiful Falscara ones, Lashify, like we tried so many, but we came across these ones. These are quite cheap on Amazon too. These are the Instawink self-adhesive lashes from Cala Elise. They have a few different styles. They don't have names for the styles. They're like a weird number, but I'll put it on screen as well as in the description. But they were stunning. I'm going to be using 2 12s and a 10 for my specific eye shape. They're insane for how easy they are to use, and they stayed on. Wild. I was a bit nervous to trust like the adhesive in these lashes, but oh boy. And there we are. The eyes are all done. Now let's move on to base. So to start the base, of course, this had to make an appearance, the E.L.F. Power Grip Primer. I used about 4 pumps. Ooh, that stuff sometimes can be like a texture nightmare. But now that my skin is nice and saturated in that, I'm going to get my foundation prepared. I used the Makeup Forever HD Skin on her and myself that day. My deepest shade that I have does not match my tan at all. I think this is the deepest I've ever tanned ever. So I have to pull out this one, the Shiseido Revitalessence Skin Glow Foundation in the shade 340 Oak. The wedding or your event is happening in a very hot place. My biggest tip is to use as least product as you can and try to like correct it with concealer in some areas. Just use this as an overall evener instead of like a full-on super high coverage foundation, or else you're gonna feel like you're suffocating. Also, another big tip for wedding day, it seems weird, but do not wear any sunscreen, because sometimes in professional photography it can really show up. Like flashback can be real. Like even if it is your normal sunscreen, sometimes it can really pick up. So biggest tip, no SPF, which is odd. Just on this day, just on one day. I've seen it happen and it's horrific. So make sure this foundation is really well applied into your hairline, faded down your neck, on the ears, just so that it doesn't look like a mask. Now this foundation is quite a bit more glowy than the HD Skin because it does have a tiny shimmer to it. So this wasn't the skin finish of the day. It's just what I had to do. It's my deepest one I've got. I'm not going to conceal right away. We're going to jump straight into bronzer and contour. I took my Milk Makeup contour. If you watched like my Maid of Honor makeup look video, there is a lot of crossover in product. I did that on purpose so I didn't have to pack like 2 different makeup bags. I'll use this one. It's a Milk Makeup brush. I don't know if it has a specific name, but I just like to contour just a touch. I kind of draw a line 1 to 2 inches long just by the ear, right on top of my cheekbone, not in the hollow, just for a lifted look. I'll kind of like pat that in, kind of keep it concentrated of where I applied it so it doesn't get ashy all over. And then once it's nice and blended, I'll kind of do circular motions just to kind of round out that line so it doesn't look too unnatural or fake looking. I'll go like this a little bit just to really get that shape going here. Then I used the Makeup by Mario contour stick in light medium. And we went pretty heavy with this for like that gorgeous bronzed appearance. And with this, I'll use a different brush. This is a MAC 143S. And we'll do all the creams first and then really enhance with powder if we feel like we need to. Again, with these steps, make sure it's in your hairline. Now for blush, the one I used first was this Patrick Ta blush in the shade Not Too Much. And I'm just going to be using the cream first. This is such a pretty color. It was the perfect shade for her and her day. Ooh. Automatic feeder time. So interesting, on her it looked a lot more cool pink, but on me it's turning out a lot more like peachy right now. But we did like the high cheekbones on her, so blush right where we typically highlight, and of course a touch on the nose just to bring that blush everywhere. Now we can go in with concealer. Her skin got along so well with the NYX Bare With Me, so I'll be using that in the shade Beige. And I'm taking my Kosas sponge and I'm kind of going off my hand here, and then you're really gonna have to lock in because we did the eyes first and all. You don't want to screw too much of it up, but this is a good time to kind of sharpen the liner up a touch if you want to. Choke up on the blush if you over blended it. It's fun to do eyes first because sometimes you're like, oh, I actually don't need that much concealer. Then I started introducing the powder products. So I'm taking my Givenchy loose setting powder. This is the old formula, and this was gorgeous and super brightening. So I used a little powder puff right under the eyes, and this is the only place I added this powder because otherwise it was just too light and brightening. Once I had the most concentration of that, I did kind of drag it down just slightly, just so that it wasn't too brightening under here. And before I moved on to other steps, I took a clean fluffy brush and kind of went over that eyeshadow underneath here, just to make sure there was no harshness. Then it was time to whip out the Charlotte Tilbury powder on a big brush. And I just lightly set her skin. We did end up wanting a bit more contrast with the bronzer, so I used my Surratt bronzer with that same MAC brush, and I kind of concentrated this a little bit more tighter in the classic bronzing areas instead of like fluttering it all over like I did with the Makeup by Mario stick. But just nice circular motions to set that really added some nice depth. And again, you always want to apply maybe a little bit more product than you're used to seeing, just so that it photographs well, and once you're up at the altar, like, people can really see your face. It's almost like stage makeup. You just really need to enhance your features more than ever, basically. And for blush, we weren't done there. I didn't use the powder side of the Patrick Ta one. I actually ended up using the Dior blush, and the combo of that Patrick Ta one and this Dior one was beautiful. So really picked a good amount of this up and just went over the previous one. And it doesn't turn out like this bright bubblegum pink at all. It just sinks in, creates something beautiful. It's such a gorgeous blush. Now I'm going to do my brows off camera. Do what you need to do for your brows. For her, I just used the Merit brow tint. That's all she needed. For me, I just need a little bit of filling and stuff. If you want to see that, you can see that in my previous video. I showed you my current brow routine. It's quite simple. It's just basically these two products here. While I'm off doing that, please enjoy the kitten intermission. I almost forgot about highlight, how could I? But we used the Fenty Beauty Demi Glow Light Diffusing Highlighter in the shade Pretty Pearls. for the lip combo, we started off with the Makeup Forever Artist Color Extreme Pencil in Wherever Walnut. It's such a good color. It's like nice and pink, but it still has a little bit of a contour tone to it. And this is like a waterproof version, so it did stay really, really well, especially with all the smooching and stuff. And then the lipstick color was this Charlotte Tilbury lipstick in the shade Wedding Bells. I don't know if this is a shade they still carry or what, but it was absolute perfection. The name was so incredibly fitting. I just couldn't believe it. I was like, oh, this is a really gorgeous pink, and it turned out to be her perfect color. And then we topped it off with a little bit of the Disco Gloss from Say, and this was also very fitting because we had kind of a disco theme to the whole night portion. And the last thing was to just completely coat the skin in the One Size setting spray. Oh, that really got my nostrils today. I thought it was safe to breathe, but I was not quite yet. And then just take your little beauty blender just to lay down any of the hairs or any like droplets that may be chilling around a little bit. That is the bridal makeup I ended up doing for her big day. I hope I get pictures back soon from the photographer so I can show you what it looked like on her. It was incredible. Not to toot my own horn or anything, but it was. That's going to be all from me today. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you'd like to see next in the comments down below. I'll also have everything I used listed and linked in the description down below, so feel free to check that out, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!